You're listening to the podcast that changed the game and rocked an entire profession. Talking about shit in law enforcement that keeps poor leaders up at night. When others run scared and hide behind fake policies, the Roll Call Room podcast tells it like it is. No bullshit. No matter how hard these thieves try, we keep killing it. And now, here are your hosts, Nick and Mark.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, an impromptu episode of the Roll Call Room podcast. Felt compelled. Mark felt compelled as well. A lot of chit-chat about this Minnesota shooting. Absolutely bonkers and crazy. We've talked about this in previous episodes. Kind of knew that this was festering and going to boil up, and eventually there was going to be some sort of lethal force action towards, folks that are protesting, and I wouldn't even call it protesting. I would say obstructing. And full disclosure, This came out, and I shot you a text message, and I was like, dude, I don't know about this shooting, man. And I fell right into the trap like most people do. The civilian world falls into this trap, which is, they see one angle and they go, oh, no, that's terrible. I am still very conflicted. I am very, very conflicted about where you place yourself versus lethal force, like a forced lethal force decision. I know myself. This is just me speaking from years of being in law enforcement. I would not have put myself in that position. I would not have put myself in a position where I was in front of a 2,000 plus pound vehicle, where your gunshot is only going to turn that into a projectile. And that's exactly what it did. Luckily, there wasn't a large crowd around where that vehicle, once she was struck in the head, the vehicle took off, which is the exact reason why a lot of agencies have a policy about shooting into moving vehicles.
Right, because you're not. Yeah. We don't encourage shooting into the car. And I think that, first of all, let me preface this with, this is all armchair quarterbacking, okay?
Totally.
However, we could have put some resources ahead of time. And watching that video time and time again, the driver was focused on the guy at the door. I don't feel that she saw the dude in front. So as a trainer, we don't train people to shoot into the car, because if that magic bullet hits the driver, it kills the driver. It doesn't stop the threat. Dead people are notoriously bad drivers. Thank God there wasn't anyone downrange, because when when they unalived her, that foot went straight down to the floor, and that car was full throttle into that pole and into those cars. That being said, the lack of resources there, and shame on you, Minneapolis leadership, not the citizens, for not giving more resources there to protect those guys, to allow them to go do the work, to keep that crowd away from them. Now, having that being said, they should have had more resources there. And all the reports that I have seen and read is that woman had been out harassing that team all day. And finally someone said, fuck it, get her out of the car. We're done with this. What they should have done.
But harass. Yeah, go ahead.
Well, what they should have done with that car was they got pickup trucks and SUVs, just immobilized it, put it on the side of the road, flatten the tires, shoot the fucking radiator out. There. Now you can get your ass out on foot. Your car's been or better yet, pin it, call a wrecker, tow the sumbitch out. You've used that to hinder this law enforcement operation. Go ahead with your thought.
The issue that I have is, if you watch the before, there's a Jeep Cherokee that's driven by HSI or Border Patrol and goes around her vehicle. So there was room to go around the vehicle. There's a bit of contempt of cop in there. There's a bit of I've had enough.
I would have been that guy.
Yeah, in my heyday, yeah. Like again, this is Monday morning quarterbacking.
Exactly.
But again, I can tell you with an absolute certainty because I've been in these situations time and time and time again,
Oh, yes.
especially on traffic stops where you go walk up to the car and you go to issue a citation and the person drives off. I can't tell you how many times that has happened to me. Um, you Again, Monday morning quarterbacking, I don't want to be that person, and I certainly don't want to disparage the work that ICE is doing because I think that this particular incident weakens the case for why we need so much enforcement. I think it does nothing but give bad publicity to ICE because this will be in the news cycle for the next 3 to 4 weeks.
Sure. And it was either a gift to the government there for covering up the Somali fraud and how rampant it is and in the billions of dollars. So I think this is all above everyone's heads. And again, the police and the enforcement boots on the ground who we support are being played as pawns, and nothing infuriates me anymore.
Yeah, I think you're right. This one's a little bit tricky because we tell it how it is here. You and I offline, we disagreed in the beginning as far as whether or not it was a good shoot. You were right.
So let's talk about that real quick. Do you want to? Do we got time for that?
Yeah, absolutely.
So I was training that day. So and I'm seeing the chatter in our small group chat about back and forth. It's a bad shoot. Nick saying, this is awful, blah, blah, blah. And so I just didn't comment because I haven't seen it. Again, I was busy. We had a class of 32, so we were short instructors, so we were busy. So I got home that night and I sat down and started digesting it. And what was my first comment? No, I'm thinking it's a pretty good shoot. He was in front of the car. The reverse lights were on. And then suddenly she dropped it in gear and full throttle. And that is intent. She purposely tried to run that officer down. Now, devil's advocate, all you had to do was a tactical sidestep and the car went away, right? But somewhere, somehow, we've programmed our officers to shoot at the threat. And that's not bad, but that also falls back to training. And in this day and age, we need to adjust training. So I think that incident in the rearview mirror, I think it's a good shoot. I think at any time she could have disengaged and went home, and she would have saved her own life and been a mother for her children. Go ahead, sir.
I'm 50-50 because one, I think it's a good shoot in the sense where a lethal force decision was presented to this officer. The part that I have issues with is it's a lethal force decision that the officer created himself. This was an avoidable incident where he did not need to be in front of that vehicle. And you said it exactly right. The tactical sidestep would have resulted in what? It would have resulted in her taking off. Her license plates, now hindsight, Monday morning quarterback, we know this now, which is the license plates come back to her. They're not stolen. They don't belong to a loved one. They are hers.
Yes.
And that was the argument. I wouldn't even say it's an argument. Folks, this is what a educated, conflicting, or debate is. And that's what Mark and I have offline, which is we go back and forth. We go, well, what about this? Well, what about that? And I wasn't sitting there on my phone going, oh, Mark's a fucking idiot. I'm not going to talk to him anymore. I'm going to block him on everything.
Right.
I'm always open to an educated, open debate where both of us can have a common sense approach. And this one is tricky because I guess I put myself in that officer's shoes, and for the third time, and I hate to repeat myself, which is I would have never put myself in that situation. I would have never ever presented a firearm in response to a moving vehicle because I've been in those situations. My department, let me go back. My department, when I first got hired, we had an officer who was working in extra duty detail at IHOP. There was a group of kids that ate and ran. And what he did is he stepped in front of the vehicle and he fired into the vehicle. Okay. There were 4 people in this vehicle. Okay. It was a $60 bill that they jumped out on. He fired multiple shots. The shots went into the windshield, redirected, and killed the rear passenger. Okay. That is why that always was ingrained in my brain, because you don't understand that the windshield, the bullet doesn't just go straight in. It doesn't go exactly where you point at it. It goes in, switches trajectories, and it can go in any direction.
Exactly.
Now, you don't know whether or not there was a child in the back seat. You don't know whether or not there was a car seat back there. You don't know anything. And you know as well as I do, you own every round that comes out, right? So you go to in-service training, at least I hope you do out there. And I don't know what it was like at your in service during the range. There were range rules that we read before we went out on the firing line, which was know your target, know what's beyond your target. What's beyond your target. I don't think that this officer knew what was beyond his target. I don't know whether or not his decision making was the best, and whether or not this is the best profession for this person if they put themselves in that situation. If they put themselves in front of a moving vehicle, I just don't know. And I don't know the circumstances. Again, you and I we don't have any insight to this whatsoever. We weren't there. I don't have any evidence. But what I do have is I have a video that I don't think anybody has seen yet. It's out there. It's public. I certainly didn't see this video this morning. This would have changed my mind when I messaged you and said this is a bad shoot. This would have changed my mind, because the angle is an angle that I have not seen. I don't think you have. This is not from the back. It's not from the passenger's side. It's head on. So I want to play that video. And show our audience. Yeah, let me roll tape. I think a lot is going to come from this incident. I think.
Well, let me expand on that. I think that it's time for management to change tactics. Okay, if you're going to put a team out, you need to have an Overwatch team out, and that includes armored vehicles. These people want to get in front of you. There's a large agency here in my area. They just went and got an old snowplow with a V-blade on it, added some gates to the side, and that thing starts pumping out pepper spray and literally parts the Red Sea. And that vehicle will move people. Go ahead, sir.
Yeah. So I want to bring your attention to the video. There is already an ICE vehicle out there. It's located right here. It's canted.
Yeah, the silver Tahoe.
Yeah, the silver Tahoe.
Had it been occupied, that'd have been a perfect car to move that SUV out of the way or to block it in.
Yeah.
Somebody should have got in and coulda, woulda, shoulda. Go.
This is our suspect vehicle. This is an ICE agent right here. So I'm just giving context as you're watching this. Have you seen this angle yet, Mark?
I have not.
Okay. This is pretty startling. So I just want to preface, user discretion is advised. If you're a little bitch and you can't, you can't watch shit like this.
I got wrote up for calling people a little bitch.
Yeah, me too. But I'm going to play this out in its entirety. So this is the vehicle that goes around that suspect vehicle. This is what I'm talking about. So we know that there's clear passage to go around the suspect's vehicle, right?
Correct.
So this is them approaching.
Between? Is that to the right of the screen? Nope, there she goes. Oh, no, this is after the shoot.
No, this is right at it. I'm going to go back. This ICE agent goes to stand
there she
right.
Backs it up, and there she hits the gas. She actually hits the guy. He
actually went to the hospital later on.
Yeah.
So this is her wife, the other agitator. They're dealing with her. This ICE agent steps in front of the vehicle. So he comes out of the Tahoe and he stands right in front of the vehicle. You're not going anywhere. And she hits him.
Yeah. Well, there again, I mean, you have vehicles there, use them. I mean,
Yeah.
you need to change your tactics because they're changing tactics every day. And as I learned this morning, I saw an interview on Jesse Waters' show from last night. He interviewed Liz Collin, who's the producer of The Fall of Minneapolis. And she stated that the majority of people in Minneapolis do not feel the way their leadership does. The majority of people in Minneapolis want those illegals out of there. They support the ISIS work there. They do not support the thin majority that are the sanctuary city folks. And with that being said, they also said in that part that there's a anti-ICE school that these two women went to learn how to what tactics they can and can't do.
I didn't hear about that, but I did hear that they were part of the ICE app or organization to obstruct them.
Sure. So you worked in the DC metro area. I believe, and I didn't look it up before we got on the camera here, that I believe if you're organizing to obstruct a federal law enforcement action, I believe that falls under the jurisdiction of the feds for being an illegal act. And if you're organizing to do that, I think that's another layer of the onion that the feds need to look into.
Well, luckily for this ICE agent, it's being handled by the FBI, and
yes, to the chagrin of leadership in Minneapolis, I heard. And I hate to be a Fox bot, but I'm not making this up. I got a source that I can go to.
Yeah, and the reason being is if they can string this guy up and show him as an example. I want to clarify a couple of things because I know we're going to get some hate comments, or I'll get some hate comments from our fellow officers. Do I think that this was a criminal act by the officer? Absolutely not. Do I think it's an administrative violation? Absolutely. 100%. 100%. I question this officer's decision-making ability during high-stress situations. I know you don't agree with that. I think you think it's a good shoot, and that's what makes you and I awesome on the show is that we're not always going to see eye to eye. I think the contempt of cop got taken a little bit too far. Did she put herself in that situation? Absolutely. Did she make that use of force happen? Absolutely. Do uses of force look sexy? Absolutely not. Absolutely not. I just, on this one, and I've been on the right side of a lot of them where the public is like, this is wrong. Don't mistake my disagreement that she didn't direct the course of action of what happened. She was harassing him all day. I'm sure they had enough. It would have been a different story for me if it was a one-way street and there was no way to get around and it was a confined area and this officer had no room to escape. You can clearly see from the video that I showed, they came from the west into the east side of the video and placed themselves in front of that vehicle. That's insanity. That's insanity.
Let's look at what we do when we're under stress. Okay, we have auditory exclusion, so your hearing shuts down, your peripheral vision shuts down, and most of all, your clear decision making shuts down under stress. And they've also brought out, and I saw this in the White House briefing yesterday, this officer had already been ran over by an illegal and was hospitalized. Should that guy been out front? Management? Should he have been on that op? Management? Yeah. Now, I'm supporting the guy. And what I don't want is another fucking Derek Chauvin incident where they string him up, because I think that's where the left is going. They're wanting to crucify this officer. That is not the case.
No.
I think he falls back to training. And my bigger thought, the bigger picture here is the training needs to change. If you're going to go, and that's exactly, if in fact it's true that they have a anti-ICE training camp there, then we need to change our tactics. And to me, that's guerrilla warfare. So you need to adapt to it. Again, if you're using a vehicle to hinder the movement of the team, disable the vehicle by any means. Lay out a set of tire deflation devices, flatten all 4 tires, shoot the grill, take the cooling system out, allow the guys on the road to do what they need to do. You know, when I went through training at the Federal Law Enforcement Training Center, I was talking to our friends in Texas, and they are authorized. If the guy runs, they can pull out their weapon and put a round in the left rear tire. You can run, but you're only running on 3. Allow those officers to overcome and adapt, and to be able to change, and to be more adaptable to what's going on around them. You know, go in, do your job. If these cars are getting in the way, push them out. If you do some damage to your vehicles, okay, at least we're not killing people.
I just think I'm concerned about the message that this sends, which is it weakens what the mission is there in Minnesota. You just had $1 billion in fraud with these daycare centers. You know, now the luring center, not the learning, the luring center.
I'm going to get one of those shirts.
No, I'm getting the bumper sticker that says luring center honor student. I just saw it today. I'm ordering it. It's going on my truck.
Yes.
You know, I think you were spot on when you said this becomes a distraction, and I don't know how much of a distraction, only because this is going to heat up, and it's going to heat up pretty hot, because with $1 billion, and now these daycare centers,
multiple billions, sir.
Yeah, these daycare centers are closing now. Like the one for the luring center just closed yesterday indefinitely.
Well, they have to close. Trump cut off all their funding.
Well,
which is what he needs to do with the rest of the state. Sorry.
Correct. No, you're spot on, man. I think the concern, and what people don't understand is that money, you know, the left is all about the environment and all these other free programs and stuff. Do you know how many free programs you can you know, bankroll with $1 billion? That's a lot of fucking money.
Billions, guys. That's 100 million.
You know, and I was watching an interview with JD, which is that there is a difference between coming over here, getting a citizenship, and getting government assistance to get your feet up on the ground. But what we have systematically wrong in Minnesota is that you have people that are defrauding the federal government a full-time job, like this knucklehead.
Sorry, but it's not homegrown Minnesota.
No,
it's not their people.
No,
I heard Tim Walz or one of them say, "Well, it's Minnesota nice." Okay, so you're going to put these criminals from another nation into a community of nice people, and they will be nice and allow you to function as a criminal. It's a cultural issue there. Now, do you think that they would survive? And you're a New Yorker. You take a bunch of Somalis and drop them in there. What are you guys going to tell them? You're from Queens?
Brooklyn.
Brooklyn. Okay. Say you're going to take a bunch of these idiots and drop them in the middle of Brooklyn. How is the neighborhood going to treat them?
I tell you, when I lived there, the way that they would be treated. I can tell you how it would be now, because these blue cities have completely been brainwashed into accepting these folks into their community, thinking that they're contributing to the community, and they're not. They're not. Back in the day, like, if you would have told me that the New York City mayor, the new New York City mayor, would be taking his swearing in on the Quran, I would have told you in 2001, Mark, you need to take your crazy pills, because there's no way, after what we saw with the Trade Center, that we would forget where we came from. And by far, New York City has forgotten. By miles, they've forgotten.
Oh, yes.
Because this guy is a small fraction of the systemic problem. Luckily, Minnesota, the mayor in Minnesota, is a moron and doesn't have the brain power to do the things that Mandani is planning on doing. But he's already started. Mandani has already started. He's got this dictator socialist thing down pat. He's really pleasant to listen to. You know,
already talking about the collective. But
charismatic,
but back to the original question: when you lived in Brooklyn, would they have been welcomed with open arms or no?
No, fuck no.
Yeah, get the fuck out of here. You've been hearing that all day long. You motherfuckers can hit the trail. So what they did with the administration, again, and this is all above, and everyone needs to look at the big picture because they're trying to focus you on this incident. The big picture is the replacement theory. That's why our previous administration before Trump brought these people in. And where'd they put them at? They didn't put them in Brooklyn. They put them in Minnesota. They put them where everyone's accepting. They put them where everyone's nice. And they allowed these criminals to steamroll over them. And now the silent majority is just that. They're the silent majority. Stop being silent. Is it bad enough, Minnesota? It's time for new leadership. You have a very good candidate who's running right now. He was a very successful businessman who's running for governor. It's time for a good change.
I think, I think Waltz had no choice but to end his reelection bid. I think he needs to resign.
He won't. He won't. He will sit there and burn the place down before he walks out. That's his.
You know what? I don't want him to. I don't want him to resign. I want the Mandani and Waltz project to continue until the midterms because Americans are starting to see the receipts. They're starting to see what the left believes in. They believe in socialism. They believe in keeping a dictator in position. They don't believe in America first. They don't believe in peace through strength. They don't believe in the military. They don't believe in affordable health care that is not a drain on the rest of us. They don't believe in individualism. These are things that folks, I think, are starting to get tired of. I think the silent majority of people, which are the ones that, we'll get 50 to 100 likes on our videos and maybe 2 dislikes or 3 dislikes. And that is America. That is a polling that I see time and time and time and time again. The ones that don't comment are the ones like you and I. Like when I see a video on TikTok or YouTube that I disagree with, I'm not going to indulge. I'm not going to make a comment. It's always the tolerant left. It's always the tolerant left until you disagree with them. Then it's not tolerant anymore. Then I'm coming after you. And I think people are getting tired of it, man. I think Minnesota is a petri dish that's going to be ripe. California is another one. I think California is going to flip eventually. I think Minnesota is going to flip. I think once Mandani gets done with New York City, I think it'll be when hell freezes over when they vote another Dem into position. I think
we shall see.
My folks that are from the NYPD that reach out tell me that it's already, we're only 2 weeks in. The mayor is saying that the commissioner reports directly to him. She doesn't. And I've got friends that are at OPP, One Police Plaza, that are pretty high up that are telling me that it's the deputy mayor she reports to.
Wow.
So, that's the in of it, and that's just socialism in general. We saw it in Russia, the Soviet Union, which is there's a collective good. And eventually what happens with socialism is we all share everything. And then it becomes, hey, listen, we don't need that stuff. You don't need any of that stuff. You need this
one person.
Right.
Their alleged king is the one making decisions. So they discourage individualism and they want everyone to be the collective. They want you to be the Borg in the hive. Don't you find it odd that we just came off the heels of January 6th? And what was the mantra for January? We're recording this on the 9th, so 3 days later. No one's above the law and you must obey the federal officers and all you J6ers are evil. Isn't it funny now how the left is doing what? Disobeying law and fighting federal law enforcement. Now they're wanting to encourage it. So to my friends on the left, man, you need to pick a side. You are all over the board. You can't say one thing and then immediately contradict yourself, which is what they do regularly. But I just found that odd yesterday, and I want to make this quick point. As soon as this came out, as soon as I saw the video, I texted you and I said, we need to get on the air and get ahead of this. And you're like, nope. So wisely, again, we waited, and we waited 3 days or 2 days. And now more of the stories out. Now there's more education out there. So I
That's where
think
I
that
was
was the
going.
wise thing for us to do, was
I'm
to
not
wait.
wise. I'm not wise. Yeah, I'm not wise. You just had to tell me the other day to back off of attacking Blue No Help. You know, like
Yeah, well, I
I
didn't get that whole thing. I was just like, I don't give a fuck about that person. You can sit out there and run your fraud any way you want to. You're not
yeah,
affecting Mark the
I,
cop a bit.
yeah, and we're going to do an episode. We got to do an episode on that because it's just
Well, you got
hilarious.
close to that fire and you jumped on the bandwagon, and this is what just infuriates me about the scam artists that work within law enforcement. And I'm going to go ahead and say his name, Sergeant Ray Wolfenbarger. I think he's retired now. There's a video out there, and I believe that Caliber Press owns his story, and they don't pay me to talk about it. But he got shot in the line of duty, and we use his video or his example in training. And he was telling me about how a guy that was there to help injured officers and all this guy was a total fucking scam artist, total fraud. And Ray's like, man, I fucking believed him, because I was talking to Ray. He lectured at one of our seminars, and he was like, dude, this guy was just, he said, I felt this guy was like a brother. And he was just that good of a scam artist. And he said, after he got arrested for defrauding like millions of dollars, he said, I went into the jail and I talked to him. I'm like, really, dude? He's like, yeah, well, yeah, I did it. So you really got to look out for the scams. And what just burns me to my core is that Roll Call Room was developed. Nick found passion, and I did too with my show, The Shield Within, to help cops that are suffering, to that guy that's sitting on the edge of the bed ready to eat their fucking gun the way you and I were, that there is help out there, and you're just in a bad state. We need to get you into therapy, be it one way or another. You need to find your place again in the world, and realize that, your poor police leadership isn't helping you. They just want you out the door so you're not their fucking problem anymore. And I made bad decisions. You made bad decisions. We put ourselves in positions to where, goddamn, this sounds pretty good. I want to eat my fucking gun. If that's your solution, we need to find you some help. So organizations that are posing that, oh, let's do a pizza party. No, it doesn't work. Let's do a motorcycle ride. That doesn't work. It may bring awareness and a little bit of money, but it doesn't fix the problem. And that's where Roll Call Room was born, and why it's out there, and why it's so popular today, is to give real solutions and to talk honestly. And we aren't soliciting. We haven't solicited you once, other than hit like and share, and that costs you absolutely $0. Doesn't cost you a thing, officers. And we love each and every one of you, and we need you, and keep doing the work you're doing. And if you do something wrong, let's look at it. We will always support the officer first. But when you get people that are Sherlocks out there that are getting government funding for a cause, you just really need to look at them really hard before you commit.
Well, my issue with that organization, which is, they serve a purpose. Okay, they're great for afterwards. They're great to pick up the pieces with family members, to have a retreat, to send them care packages, to do all of that stuff. Yes, there's a purpose for that. But you can't turn around and base your platform and your fundraising on prevention when you won't even tackle the massive issue, which is why the majority of officers are killing themselves. And over 90% of it is poor law enforcement leadership and being railroaded, and this job affecting them in a way that turns them to want to kill themselves. And the point where I stopped, so this all happened on Spinning Our Gears Facebook page, and it was the CEO or founder of Blue Help. And
First Health now, isn't it?
First Help, whatever the fuck they want to
Yeah,
call
I was
themselves
going to say,
now.
didn't they broaden their brush to pick up
they
fire
brought-
and EMS?
Yeah, this is more fundraising with fire and EMS and military now. So when her response to me was the reason why they don't have any balls to come out, and this is exactly what I said to her is you don't have the balls to come out and say that it's command staff that is the problem in all of these agencies. Her response was, well, there's no data to point us in that direction. Well, you couldn't be further fucking wrong, because if you ask anybody that has attempted suicide, they will tell you that data. The problem is that you're not taking that government funding and you're not running any statistics, or you're not running anything yourself. You're just piggybacking off of the same systemic problems over and over and over. And I gave up on them fucking 3-4 years ago for multiple different reasons. One, stupidity of my own. But that has nothing to do with my discontent with them. I never ever agreed with the fundraising. I never agreed. There was cooking of the books, or sorry, there was some discrepancies with financing with that group where they had to have a forensic accountant come in and kind of figure things out because they weren't classifying things correctly. Whatever it is, I don't give a shit. I don't give a shit.
Nick, let me jump in here. Is the person, and I don't know these people. I see them getting tagged in this. I'm like, why am I getting fucking tagged in this? This isn't my problem. With any charitable institution, ask yourself, is the person in charge taking a salary from collected money? If the answer is yes, it's not a charity. And that's the first thing I look at. It's like, oh shit, I hate being old, dude. There's 2 bike rides that come into DC. And one of them is Unity Tour, and what's the other one? That's the other
Law
one I'm
Enforcement
thinking.
United.
Yeah, Law Enforcement United. I put my money towards Law Enforcement United because their management team do not take salaries.
Yep.
That's just one example.
Yep.
Do I think they're both of a worthy cause? Absolutely. Do I support the cops organization? To my core, to my soul. Concerns of Police Survivors is a wonderful organization. It takes a lot of money, but I've been there. You've been there. I've seen how they help these people unfold their lives after line of duty death. Is there an organization out there that does that for people where their officers committed suicide? Sure. But look at where your dollars are going. If they take a salary, they're being seduced by money, and money is the root of all evil. And that's where we are today in Minneapolis to bring it back. Is money is the root of all evil. These people in leadership, the reason why they're mad is because the federal government's shutting down their fucking Ponzi scheme or scam or whatever they got going on. Those people are in office directly because they put those people up to defrauding the federal government. They're kicking all that money back to them, and that's why they're fighting so hard to stay where they are. I think that the governor out there realizes that the show's over. It's time to step down because there's no way in hell he'll ever win an election again. But he's so arrogant he won't resign.
Yeah. Well, I got two points, and then I'm gonna
we got to roll.
Put that organization to bed, which is this. The part that frustrated me where I just signed off was when you question this organization, they have a group of people that come at you that are survivor spouses. And then they start spewing this thing, which is, well, what have you done? Well, what have you done? My answer to that is saved more lives than you'll ever imagine, because I guarantee you 5 out of 10, at least 5 out of 10 officers that are out there right now have heard of the roll call room. I would venture to say 1 out of 10 knows that organization, and I'll prove it. I'll prove it to you. When I was at the edge of my bed with a Glock in my hand, ready to make that decision, I didn't know who the fuck that company was, that organization was. And that's
Right.
a problem. Their
Yeah.
sticker should be on every fucking locker in every law enforcement agency across the country. And they're not.
Sure.
They're not
Mail 'em out.
because, well, they're not because the ones that do know about them that are struggling know that they don't have the balls to say the things that you and I will say, which is, it is not my struggle with mental health had nothing to do with my marriage, had nothing to do with my finance, had nothing to do with that. It had to do with admin betrayal, and it had to do with the vindictiveness that
Mhm.
this profession will come at you if you
Yes.
speak out. And if you're not part of the solution, you're part of the fucking problem. And that organization is part of the fucking problem because you have a big enough podium and soapbox to get up and say, hey, listen, I think we figured it out. I think we figured it out. These officers are fucking stressed out because all of you people in this room, and this needs to happen at the IACP conference. Somebody has to have the balls to go in a ballroom with 1,000 police chiefs across this country and say, you all are the fucking problem. And now, this is your day of reckoning. What are you going to do to fix it? And they don't. And they won't invite like you and guys like you and I to go talk to them because we'll
Which we
ruffle
will
feathers.
come.
Yeah.
We will
Well, the
come if you guys
IACP,
want us to come speak.
it would,
Well-
wouldn't it be, what's funny is the IACP just announced where their conference is this year. Guess where it is?
Orlando?
It's in my backyard, Orlando. It's in my backyard.
Yeah, it is in Orlando. Yeah, it
Yeah.
sure is.
I'll do it for free.
I want to challenge you a little bit. When I first joined this show, we really rattled the cage and we got their attention. So now because I get their emails, they are actually now endorsing mental health. And over the past 2 years, I've seen a lot of my local departments starting to get their officers through the registration process, but no, the onboarding with mental health professionals. I can't say that Roll Call Room had a big hand in that, but I think that day we went on the air and exposed their tax return and saw what little they were doing. We got their attention.
Well, for sure. For sure.
And because we got their attention. Sure, absolutely. But we got their attention and they made change. So I want to give them credit there that IACP, yes, is saying. And now, is it the change we want? I don't think 100%, but we're moving in the correct direction.
Yeah. No, I agree with you.
We want to get these guys. And to answer your first question is that when I was sitting on the edge of my bed, ready to end my life, you're right, that organization, and I'm not going to give them props or say who they are, was not on my mind. You want to know what brought me through it? You in the Roll Call Room.
Yeah,
and after that, I did a legacy podcast, and it's called The Shield Within. I partnered with my former therapist because I thought, I went back to if I can just get through to one person, my mission's done. 5 years later, the Shield Within's still going, but much to our pleasure, I guess, or you should be proud of yourself, Nick, because you changed the DNA of podcasting. And how many officers, we just Motor Cop Chronicles, another one, Spinning Our Gears, another one. These guys wouldn't be out there preaching the gospel and the ministry of law enforcement mental health if it wasn't for you. And the fact is, you're very humble, and that's why I love you, brother. But if she wants to know what you did, you changed the fucking face of the nation. You changed it for law enforcement. You allowed everyone or empowered people to say, look, this shit ain't right. And they have a voice now. And as we've said on this show many, many times before, the worst thing you could do was push me out the door because now we have an audience, we have microphones, and we can share this message with others. So if you're hurting, 988. If you need something, email us. We will find you a therapist in the area. My co-host, Dr. David, has a nationwide wealth of therapists that are first responder trained. Because remember, you can go to any therapist, but if they don't know how a first responder clicks and works, you're going to, all that energy you got, you need to find someone that can do it. And EMDR and all that stuff. We've talked about different therapies to help things out, the Chip Terry Fund, et cetera, for people on our fireside. And I'm proud to be here. Thank you very much for allowing me to be your co-host. But we work hard every day. How do we do that? Through satire, through comedy. We talk about things, to get some message out. Roll Call Room really changed the face of the landscape moving forward. So I think that's a bigger voice. And thank you for what you did.
I appreciate that. I don't take credit for it. But my last closing thing, and then we're going to close this out, is leave the CPR up to us. You take care of cleaning the bedpans from now on. All right. Let us do the life-saving measure shit, and then you go and clean the bedpans, or you come and zip up the body and take care of the final arrangements. Why don't we establish that? Okay. Other than that, keep your minions in control, because I got enough scars to prove what I've done for law enforcement. Other than that, go fuck yourself. I don't give a shit. That being said, this has been a fantastic episode. Thank you for tuning in. Mark, close us out.
4 F's, guys. Faith, family, got to be the top 2. Friends and favorite activities. Don't let the actions of management. Keep doing what you're doing. We support all of our law enforcement, from the feds all the way down to the village officers. You guys are out there. We need you. Keep doing it. Keep yourself straight, meaning take care of the brain bucket. Killing yourself is not the solution. Therapy is the solution. Your future self will thank you. My future self is thanking my past self for listening to the Roll Call Room, getting things back in line, because, again, it's a big world out there, and sometimes God will shut one door and open the other.
Amen to that. Amen to that. All right, folks, take it easy. Fuck Spotify, and be good to each other.